Hey guys, JHoyt here. Before we get into today's video, we tell you guys at the start of every single video, the vast majority of you guys are not even subscribed. So make sure to go down below, check. Are you subscribed? If not, or if it's your first time here, make sure to go down below, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload, and don't forget, you can always change your mind later. What's on, guys? JHoyt back with you. Today, welcome back to NHL 22. We're back on Hockey Ultimate Team, and we got some great gameplay for you in the background. A nice little 5-1 rage quit at the end from our opponent, but it's a good one, like I said. But I wanted to do something a little bit different, right? We haven't done this at all, and it's going to be a good one. So we had the Vegas Golden Knights, obviously. 5 years ago, they were first a team. They first had a team. And I wanted to take a look back to the original roster. Yeah, the original roster. I found a graphic while scrolling on Instagram, and I thought it was a pretty good video idea. So here we are bringing it to you. So on your screen is the graphic. I had to change it a little bit because some of the players on the team end up coming either later in the season or that first off season. So we're going to go with that. So we have this graphic here. Yes, it's not perfect anymore, but it's still a really good graphic. So as you can see on the top of your screen, we have a whole first line of players that are all still on the team. We have Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson, and Riley Smith. All three of those players are still on the team. They're actually making up the second line for the Vegas Golden Knights. So that's really kind of cool how they came in together. They're still together, and they probably will be together until one of these players ends up leaving the team, regardless of the circumstance. But let's move down to that second line. So our next player is James Neal, a player that realistically should be one of those big name players that you'd love to have on your team, but then after, signed in Calgary in the offseason. So now he's in St. Louis. So this is the hard part about this graphic, is some of these players are with the team, it shows, but then that's not where they went afterwards, if that makes sense. So in this case, James Neal, the following offseason, he signed in Calgary, and then now he signed a PTO in St. Louis, and then he ended up signing a real contract with them as well. So interesting to see for him. I obviously wish his skill set would have stayed there, but of course, look at them now. They've been great without him, so I can't really complain too much. But our next player, Eric Howler, he says he's on the second line. I don't really know if he really was or not. He played 2 years in Vegas, and then he was traded to Carolina in the Nick Raw trade. Now he's in Boston. Now, I would guess probably one of the main reasons they traded him was probably not really feeling his play style, or not really performing as much as they were hoping to. Plus, he was making like $2.5 million, something like that. So, like I said, now he's in Boston after being traded. But either way, he was a decent little pickup on that second line. But our third player on this line, we have David Perron. He ended up playing only 1 year in Vegas before signing in St. Louis, joining James Neal there as well. And David Perron's still there as well. He's been there for the last 4 years. Like I said, he signed immediately after that first year. So it's tough to see, obviously, another player that you'd really want to be there, but he ended up signing somewhere else. But either way, on to our next player. I don't remember who it said was in the roster, in the graphic, but I'm going to go with Oscar Lindbergh. He played 1.5 years before being involved with the Mark Stone trade, which obviously brought Stone to the Vegas Golden Knights. Not much from Lindbergh after that trade. He currently plays in the KHL, and that's about it for him, right? There really wasn't too much going on with him there. Our next player, Cody Eakin, played 2.5 years in Vegas before being traded to the Winnipeg Jets, and is now in Buffalo. Eakin was making a lot of money. If they're trying to clear up some money, if they're trying to make trades work, obviously need some salary cap and some salary to work with. So kind of makes sense. He goes to Winnipeg. Now he's in Buffalo. But either way, on to our next player, Alex Tuch, our more recent player that has been moved. He played 4 years in Vegas before being injured, well, first of all, and then being involved in the Jack Eichel trade, the big piece in the Jack Eichel trade, if you want to call it that, either that or Krebs. But either way, now he's in Buffalo. He moves closer to home. He's from, I think, Syracuse. Now he's playing in Buffalo. So that's kind of cool. He gets to go home to his hometown state, my hometown state as well. So that's kind of cool. I definitely will miss him. I did like the way he played. Big body, could skate, and definitely could complement some other players as well. But either way, on to our next player. Thomas Nosick played 4 years in Vegas, a reliable fourth liner, if you want to call him that, before signing in Boston, and is still there. Just did that last offseason. So decent little fourth line player, but again, you know, kind of moved on. Pierre Belimar played 2 years in Vegas before signing with Colorado and is now in Tampa Bay. Another really good fourth liner for him, and you know, didn't really wasn't a huge name, but still is one of those reliable players that you can put on that third or fourth line and be totally fine with. On to our last and final forward here. We have William Carrier, currently playing in his 5th season with the Vegas Golden Knights, but kind of bouncing around from the third and fourth lines, depending on injuries and who's in and out of the lineup. So another really good fourth liner for him. They signed a contract extension. I think it was last year before, to like a 3 or 4 year extension, something like that. So he's still there. They obviously like him, so he's there. So either way, let's move on to the defensemen, where once again we have a pair of defensemen that are still in Vegas, both being Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore, currently making up the second line for the Vegas Golden Knights. And they've been actually a pretty good duo back there. You know, 2 left-handed defensemen, obviously not something I would personally like, but hey, if a player likes the right side, can play the right side, who cares what they're doing after that? So on to our next player, Nate Schmidt, another player that had a lot of promise, like Neal and Perron. You know, was a good player for them. However, they moved on from him. He played 3 years there before being traded for a draft pick to Vancouver, and then they basically made the same trade with Winnipeg, which he currently is playing there now. And they basically traded him for a 3rd round pick. So if he can get up to full form and put up those 50, 60 points a year, it's definitely worth having him. But the last couple of years has not been great for him. So on to our next player in the Vegas native, Derrick Anglin, the only player out of this entire list that is retired. He played 3 years in Vegas, retires. I don't know what he's doing now, but he retired. No longer on the team. We'll move on to our last line here of defense, if you want to call it that. We have John Merrill, who played 3 years in Vegas and has kind of bounced around teams since then, but he originally signed with Detroit, and now he's in Minnesota. I think he made a couple other stops in there as well. But either way, third line defenseman that just, one of those just third line players. Then we have Colin Miller, who played 2 years in Vegas before being traded to Buffalo for a pair of draft picks. I think it was like a pair of like 2nds or 3rds or something like that, and is still in Buffalo. So, we have a really wide range of players that, started in Vegas and now are elsewhere. But we have 3 more players, 2 players and a coach I kind of wanted to go over. So we have Marc-Andre Fleury, of course, being the star of this team, if you will, for 4 years before being traded to Chicago for basically a nobody as far as a player went. And is still there, but there is definitely rumors out there that he might be going to a different team given Chicago's struggles this year. So, unfortunately, salary cap played a huge part in part of this Fleury trade. If they could continue that Fleury and Leonard tandem, I think they would have. Unfortunately, he was making $7 million. They had to pay Leonard $5 or $5.5, something like that, $million for his contract. Having $12 million tied up in just your goaltenders is a lot, especially given the new talent on this squad. And obviously, it was hard to to get rid of him, being the the big piece of the expansion draft for Vegas. But either way, on to our last, I guess not player, but last piece of this Where Are They Now segment. We have the head coach, Gerard Gallant. He coached 2.5 years before being fired for Peter DeBoer. Gallant currently in the New York Rangers as their head coach. But what's really interesting about Gallant is they were actually not doing well, but they were above 500 when they made this change. It wasn't like they were struggling. So I don't know what it was, but apparently they just wanted to change, and they ended up going for Peter DeBoer. DeBoer's obviously still there, and Gallant now in New York. So, if you look at this team, when they first were drafted to this squad, compared to where they are now, it's a very big difference. So if you look at this before and after graphic here, the first roster, you see it. Marchessault, Carlson, Smith, Neal, Howler, Perron, Lindbergh, Eakin, Tuck, Nosick, Belimar, and Carrier, Theodore, McNabb, Schmidt, Anglin, Merrill, and Miller, Fleury, and Subban. You look at it now. Now this is with everyone healthy, obviously. But you have Pacioretty, Eichel, Stone, Marchessault, Carlson, Smith, Janmark, Patrick, and Dadonov, Carrier, Howden, and Kolesar. So already a ton of big changes. Then you have Martinez and Pietrangelo, McNabb and Theodore, Haig and Whitecloud in net. You have Leonard and Brossois. And in the head coach position, you got Peter DeBoer. So only having, is it 5 or 6 total pieces still on the team from the expansion draft is absolutely insane. I think it's 6 in total with Marchessault, Carlson, Smith, McNabb, Theodore, and William Carrier. That's 6 players still remaining from 5 years ago, which is absolutely incredible. Now, this was just the NHL roster. I don't know about prospects or anything like that, but either way, this was a really fun video to make. Actually, going back and looking at all these players, where were they, where they were when they were drafted to Vegas compared to where they are now. Huge change for Vegas. They haven't missed the playoffs yet, and hopefully they'll start winning and kind of changing their fortunes a little bit going into the rest of the year. But either way, this was a really fun video to make. I can't wait to make something similar like this again. And that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy, hit that like button down below if you haven't yet. Or if you're brand new here, make sure to subscribe. Turn those post notifications on so you never miss an upload. And don't forget, you can always change your mind later. With all that being said, guys, we'll see you in the next one.